Hey guys, what's up? Will and John back for the first load of predictions for 2020, and we're back with a bang as regard to one of the kind of big guys who sells pay-per-views is back, and probably the guy actually who sells the pay-per-views for the UFC is Conor McGregor's back, and he is fighting another legend in Donald Cowboy Cerrone, who's got some of the best records in the UFC. And yeah, it's been a break. We've had I think it's a month off pretty much from fight predictions, which me and John have kind of thoroughly appreciated. But we're back. 4 weeks is maybe a bit too long. 3 weeks is enough for me, but 4 weeks is just maybe pushing it a little bit too much. So really looking forward to speaking through this card, talking about the main event specifically. And then we're going to have a good run of events coming over the next few months. 2019 was a big year for us for the channel. It really grew a lot more than we ever thought it was really going to do. So we're just shy of 1,000 subscribers. We've set a goal for 2020. I think it's 1,300, which is 300 subscribers, which I think's a good push. It's like 10 an event. We might get there. So we need your help. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Any questions at all, anything you want to ask, just drop them in the comment box, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. We're getting ready to talk UFC 246. Before we do that, I'm going to throw it over to John just to see how his festive time was. How did he enjoy his break? And I'm sure he's like myself, kind of raring to go for 2020.
Bro, I am indeed raring to go. It's a nice recharge, nice reset button almost. It just felt good to have that break. Obviously, a bit of Bellator with the great Rampage Jackson looking sharp was to enjoy and risen. But other than that, it was just nice, just chill, relax, enjoy ourselves. We had a great Christmas, folks. We hope you all had a great festive period and ready to get going with this card. It's like Will said, get sub numbers up. Can't wait to get the numbers up because I'm going to look to put new content out as well. I'll be looking to do with Will as well when he can. We'll do some weekly stuff like live little chats and stuff, maybe like for 30-40 minute chat things just on some of the main topics of the week, just to have a conversation with you all. Like to hear your points of view because it's a community. This podcast is obviously me and Will doing it, but it's more of a community. We want people to join in and whether it be betting and opinions, and that's all we want. So we look forward to getting that out there and starting that probably. I'll probably start this week, this Wednesday. Probably start doing something this Wednesday because I'm free on a Wednesday evening, so to speak.
So, like I say, we've got some things in the pipeline. We need your help to grow the channel. You did fantastic in 2019. Let's see if we can do even better in 2020. So, I suppose we should get ourselves into this card for UFC 246, residing from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. I've not long just watched the first Embedded. I'm actually really looking forward to watching this Conor McGregor interview with Ariel Helwani, which I've not seen. I'm going to watch after we do this. But I am looking forward to... The one thing I'm actually looking forward to before we get into the fights is actually Conor McGregor's going to be in a scrum setting for the media.
Oh.
I think it's Wednesday or
like
Thursday.
a Dana White scrum?
Yeah, kind of like a Dana, which is really interesting. That's not really happened with McGregor in a long time. So... that's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to watching that, and obviously I think there's a press conference between the two. I'll be interested to see. I think McGregor's kind of reined back on all that shenanigans that he was spouting before, because when you go back and actually look at the Khabib one, that was just vitriol, like a lot of bad blood between those two.
It wasn't really banter.
It was a bit far and it was a bit uncomfortable, and McGregor doesn't have to be like that to make headlines. So I'm hoping he's kind of humble himself. To me, he looks recharged and ready to go. But like I say, we'll see we'll talk about that fight when we get there. But starting off in the UFC Fight Pass prelims, the women's flyweight division, we've got Sabina Mazo against JJ Aldrich, and I'm going to throw it on to my good man John to get the first prediction of the year out of the way.
Good fight to start the card, if I'm honest with you. I think it's a cracking little fight. I think both of them are really good prospects in the flyweight division as a whole. JJ Aldrich got that kind of bounce back against Lauren Euler. I think she needed that against Maycee. Barber's just like a wrecking ball at the moment, kind of steamrolling through. She was a potential fly under the radar for fight of the year as well, or surprise of the year. She was kind of surprise little package of the 2019. But JJ Aldrich, she kind of got thrown under by her, and she got that win against Lauren Mueller where Lauren just didn't. She looked a bit static. She still looks a bit almost nervous when she's fighting. I think Lauren could do with a bit of relaxing, but JJ Aldrich, she's got good fundamentals, a good solid all-round game. She's very good at getting those points on the board. She's very good at getting those decisions because she's just a good all-rounder. She doesn't leave herself exposed too much, but then she's going against someone in Sabina Mazo, who I've got a lot of hype for. I think this year is going to be a lot coming out from Sabina. She's a young girl in the sense of the UFC. I think she's got wonderful clinch work. That girl's got a lovely little pump clinch. She can blitz out some knees, crack out some elbows, and she'll have that height advantage over JJ Aldrich. And I think Sabina will look to close the distance with JJ, get that clinch work in. Because you saw with like Maycee Barber, if you really put the pressure on JJ Aldrich, she starts to lose her kind of place in her footwork, and I'm not saying she panics, but she kind of has got that backup plan of, right, if I'm getting smothered, what do? Do I clinch? Do I grab the takedown? Do I have a combination that I can get myself out of with? So, for example, if she's getting just getting overwhelmed, throw an overhand, circle off to the left or the right. I don't see it on I feel like sometimes she just lets the moment overwhelm her a little bit. And I think Sabina's got wicked kicks, smooth kicks, nice powerful kicks as well for the body and the teeps and everything. I just think Sabina as well looked a bit nervous in the fight against Moraes. That was it. But she did all right in that Moraes fight. She got taken down a little bit, and she showed a little bit of almost like a rabbit in the headlights. But the fight against Shayna Dobson was almost ideal for her. Shayna Dobson looked way better in that fight as well. Like, to credit to Shayna Dobson, she looked way better performance-wise. But I thought that was an ideal fight for Sabina. I've got Sabina again. I think that JJ's going to have the reach disadvantage, so to speak, to close. She's going to have to come in, and she's going to have to come into the shots from Sabina, who can throw nice combinations, not just with the hands, but combinations with the feet. I'm going with a decision win for Sabina Mazo. I think JJ can maybe toughen it out till 3 rounds, but I'm going with Mazo in this one.
Yeah, it's an interesting fight. It's one that I looked into, and I was initially on at JJ Aldrich to kind of start off with, but the more I kind of watched, and I think this will be a better fight for Mazo kind of back in the UFC here and kind of getting the gripes of the debut and stuff out the road. Yeah, I think right now she's as good as she's ever going to be. I think she's maybe hit her full potential. I don't see her making massive strides in skill really all that much. But what she is she's extremely solid, and she's a tough girl to face, especially for someone like Mazo, who is still fairly new. She's not really used to like girls of kind of this level, so she's got to really stamp herself on this level, because she can beat the girls in LFA and so on. But once you're in the UFC, you're in with the best of the best around the world, not just in America. You're the best in the world. And she's only, 22, 23 years old. Comes from a good gym. I think she's one of those people that will make big jumps in her skill sets through in between fights. And like I say, she's got the nervous kind of UFC debut and stuff out of the road. I just think, for me, JJ, if she tries and roughs her up a little bit, maybe puts her against the cage, and I think she has to kind of get inside to maybe hurt Mazo. I don't think she can really beat her at distance. I know she's at a reach disparity. I think she's at also like got 4 or 5 inch reach with the legs, so she can maybe keep her back with the teep kicks and so on, and especially with her head kicks, she is very, very dangerous with that. So I've got Sabina Mazo. I think it's going to be close. I think that JJ will make the fight close, but I think that Mazo might be able to keep this at distance, hurt her a little bit, and really kind of beat her for there. So I've got Sabina Mazo to win that fight there. So moving on, we've got Brian Boom Kelleher with a 19-10 record against the Jamaican sensation. Sorry, I'm missing something here. Jamaican sensation Ode Osbourne, who's a guy that surprisingly, when I seen him, was quite. I really liked actually what I seen from the guy. I really did. I thought that a little bit surprised. Really surprised with what I've seen. I like the way he kind of kept his distance really well. I think that, and I said this in my videos, like he kind of reminds me of Conor McGregor a little bit, where he kind of sits back and he's long with his shots, and he tries to kind of rile you into one kind of side of the shots with leg kicks and punches and so on, body kicks I should say, and just very light on his feet, kind of got that karate stance. I've seen him taken down, but I've also seen him submit people off his back. Now, when you look at Brian Kelleher, meat and potatoes kind of fighter, I think he needs to kind of get inside to really win this fight. I don't think he's going to win this fight at distance. I really don't. I think he's in a lot of trouble if this fight stays at distance. So he has to get inside. He has to do the damage on the inside there. He's at like a 7 or 8 inch reach disadvantage and against like a really tricky southpaw. So that's why I'm saying he has to get in close. I don't know if you've seen the tweet, I think it was last week, from Brian Kelleher saying like he's really struggling to lose the weight. So he could be a bit of a big guy coming into this fight. He was saying like, let's make this fight at a different weight class. And I was like, dude, like you're struggling. That's a weak mentality if you're coming in and saying that 2 weeks before a fight card and wanting to change weights and this and that. I know, like, I'm sure cutting weight absolutely sucks, but yeah, he shouldn't be doing that. So, like I say, when you look at Kelleher, he's a tough guy. I mean, he's got a couple of decent wins on his record, but he is. Oh, sorry, this dog of mine's deciding to play with the ball when it shouldn't be.
She's found it.
So yeah, coming off 2 losses, John Lineker, Montel Jackson. I mean, John Lineker's just
They're both legit guys, though.
Yeah, they're badass. Montel Jackson's one of those guys I think is going to be really good eventually, and he's got a lot of physical advantages over a lot of guys. So, but like I say, he's coming into this one here where he really needs to win this fight, because losing 3 in a row and being maybe stopped by in 3 fights potentially, that's never a good look. So, I like this Osbourne kid. I actually bet him a while back. I bet him he was an underdog then. He's not an underdog now. He's a favourite. He's a kind of moderate kind of favourite. I think -130. So yeah, I've got OJ Osbourne to kind of really frustrate him at distance, and then that's going to mean Brian Kelleher's going to have to come in and start maybe being a bit more adventurous with his striking and maybe get caught with a shot, and ultimately I've got OJ maybe knocking him out in the 3rd round. So I've got the newcomer to win via knockout.
Yeah, I think Brian Kelleher's issue is he got that win against Henry Barrow, which that's your cap. And if I'm anyone, if I beat Henry Barrow, I'd be buzzing as well. I'd be happy. But it wasn't anyone who beat Henry Barrow after TJ Dillashaw didn't really beat Henry Barrow. They beat some chump who looked like Henry Barrow, but I think Henry Barrow has a twin brother who came in and stepped in for his fights, because I don't know who the hell was fighting in his place. And then he lost the fight John Lineker, and he did. The problem is his style of fighting, like you said, Will. It's meat and potatoes. He just comes in there and strikes, and he's doing exactly what John Lineker wanted. He just stood there in front of John Lineker, and it was John Lineker did the same combination over and over again. Body shot, headshot combination. He whipped in the power, whipped in the hooks to the body, and it came over the top. And in the first round or two, Kelleher was wise to it. He saw the punches coming and was able to get the body shot and block and move out the way. And he landed a body shot here and there, but he wasn't there landing a headshot, so to speak. Or if he was, it was more a case of Kelleher was blocking it. But come to the 3rd round, after taking so many hits, he just kind of switched off, and Kelleher switched off at that one moment. He got wobbled a bit, and then Lineker just came in, took a slight level change, whipped in the body shot, and then come over the top, and Kelleher was out. And that was a pretty tasty knockout, if I'm honest with you. And I just thought, man, you need to be on when you're fighting Lineker. He's the kind of guy you can't switch off for 3 rounds, because he's always got heavy hands. No matter what point in the fight, that dude can knock you out. And then he fought the Montel Jackson fight, and the Montel Jackson fight was more telling, I think, than the Lineker fight, because I think Montel Jackson kind of is similar in Odell Osbourne, because the reach advantage, like you said, Will, the stance, the body type, the kind of the like Ode is about an inch taller, but he's got a 6-inch reach advantage or whatever it is in Kelleher, and that's massive, that reach advantage. And he, like you said, Will, he just fights longer. Like Kelleher fights shorter than he is, and I think Kelleher's going to have to come in close. But I've noticed in a few fights now, Kelleher gets hit. It's a bit questionable on how he recovers. He gets wobbled. He's open to get hit. I think Ode's not superb. I've seen flaws in Ode's performances. I think Oleinik can definitely get hurt as well, but I think he should be able to stop Brian, because for me, Brian Kelleher is, two times this year, and the reason with the Jackson fight was he got put down. He got put down by an elbow. It was an elbow, sure, yeah. So. And I think if I'm Ode, I'm going to be thinking about that as well. If Kelleher's going to try and clinch up me, I'm going to try and come over the top of those elbows, rock him, drop him, and stuff like that. And I think it's open for him. I'm going to go with Ode as well. I think that a couple of telltale signs in Brian Kelleher kind of saying, I thought, mate, you're coming a bit too predictable as a fighter. So if I'm fighting you, I can see what's coming, and I know there's a game plan. I kind of almost copy what certain guys have done against him in the past, and you can get that win. Just don't stand there in a dogfight, because you stand in a dogfight, there's a chance that he could win it. There's a chance that he can crack it and wobble you. He did crack John Lineker with a hook, like a left hit him with a hook, and wobbled Lineker a little bit in the first round. So he has got pop in his hand. So I think Ode's got the win. He should walk away with the win.
Cool. Moving on. This is a great fight. This is Tim Elliott against Askarov. A really, really fun fighter that we could have here. Both guys really, really good. You've got the 16-8-1 guy in Tim Elliott against the 10-0-1 guy in Askarov. Both ranked flyweights, and there's not all that many fighters kicking around. But yeah, really, really interesting fight. How do you see it panning out?
Yeah, Elliott came back after a long layoff with his ACL or MCL or PCL or ABC or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Knee just blew out, injury, and if not being funny, if you're out injured for that long, last thing I want to do is come back and fight someone like Figueiredo. That's horrible. That's so rough, that fight to come back to. Yeah, you've been out for a while, more or less 2 year best part of, and we want you to fight one of the best in the world, who's flying high. Good luck with that. Off you go, Tim. Now, don't get me wrong, Tim Elliott is a guy who, his fighting style is unorthodox. His technique is just not by the book, but it's what makes Tim Elliott Tim Elliott. He's unpredictable, so he's awkward to fight. It's almost like watching Tony Ferguson at flyweight, because he just throws these random punches, these weird shots. You don't think of much, but because you don't know what's coming, you have to react to it. You can't not react to it, because next time he'll try to throw something else like that and put something in there. Scrambles on Elliott are fantastic. He himself, I know he's been caught with submissions, but he himself has got some good submission attempts. I think Elliott's good at the scrambles to get back to the feet, but he's fighting a guy in Askarov who is... Did he potentially lost that fight against Moreno? No. Slight. It was super close. So I'll take a draw. I'm happy with the draw. I don't think it was a robbery either side, to be fair. But the kid, it's his UFC debut, to be fair, and he didn't look too bad against, an absolute solid guy in Brendan Moreno, who is a legit guy in that division. Man, I think Tim Elliott's got a horrible fight here as well. I think Askarov is, in my opinion, was potentially a top 5 guy before he even made his debut in the UFC. Outside of the UFC, he was already potentially a top 5 guy. I think Tim Elliott's going to have a bit of a tough time with this. I think the striking kind of game of Askarov, hopefully he's found his feet a little bit after that first fight in the UFC, should go on to this fight against Tim Elliott and be able to land a bit more. There'll be a lot of grappling exchanges and a lot of scrambles, I think. I think Elliott might try to initiate the grappling aspect, but I think Askarov should, this time round, start to be able to reverse it, switch it over, and also land a bit more shots. I think it's going to be a decision. I think it's going to be super tight. I will not be shocked if I see someone shout split decision. I'm going to go with Askarov, and the reason being is I just think that he's got so much talent. I think he's not even scratched the surface yet on what he's going to be letting off in this flyweight division. I think he's like a potential future champ. I think he's got so much about him. He's such an exciting talent, and I think Elliott's got a bit of trouble here in a lot of the areas against him. I think Askarov is just that little bit better all around, but Elliott's so awkward. He can make a fight look closer than it is. So I'm going to go Askarov, but I expect a great fight here. But I don't see a lot in it. I think Askarov just should just take it.
Yeah, I think it's a tough fight for both. Honestly, I think that when you look at Askarov's first fight, he had a striker in Moreno, so he had to really kind of go for that. And someone like Elliott, who is kind of not a hybrid, but he's kind of okay everywhere, not great anywhere. but he's very scrappy, and he's a hard guy to pin down, to take down. Well, not really a hard guy to take down because he's got 50% takedown defense, but when he turns up, he's a really hard guy to deal with because he can grapple as well, and he can, like I say, Askarov I can see getting takedowns, but I can also see Elliott potentially getting takedowns, or maybe doing potential subs in the bottom where he gets into a position where he's got the back or he's got any side control or whatever. I really think it's going to be a back and forth fight where both guys are just going to be scrambling. There's going to be opportunities to get the back. They find a way back to their feet. It's sloppy in the feet. I think it's potentially going to be a more of a grappling match. I think it's a really close fight. I find it really hard picking. I'm a big fan of Askarov. I think he's a good guy to have in the UFC. I think he's got potential to move himself on. But this is a guy in Elliott who's had a lot of fights. He's had, I want to say, maybe 10 plus fights in the UFC. I think he's kind of lost more than he's won. He kind of goes between wins and losses. Like I said, you said split decision. That's kind of where I'm leaning. I think this fight's got split decision written all over it. I really do. I think that I think it's going to be back in the first round. To me, is interesting because if Elliott comes out and can somehow kind of get ahead and not having to chase the fight, then I think he's in a big advantage. Obviously, I'm going to go Tim Elliott split decision. So I've got it being close. I can see this being lots of reversals, a lot of stuff going down in the ground. But if Elliott gets his back taken, I think Askarov can take him out as well. So I'll go Tim Elliott, not super confident. Looking forward to the fight, though, if I'm being honest with you. I think it's a decent fight. So moving on, we've got Aleksei Kramer against Justin Ledet. Kramer's 5-0, fighting out of Bosnia and Herzegovina. But I think he fights out of the Stipe Miocic gym, so he does, yeah. He really champions this kid. And then you've got Ledet 9-2 and 1 with 9-2 with one draw, fighting out the US. Not seen this guy in a while. It's been a while. Like I kind of scavenged around social media to see where this guy was, if there was anything up, where he's been training. Really, really hard to find anything. He's just not posted anything. So I'm interested to see some of the interviews through fight week and see what he's been up to and where he's been and so on. But this is an interesting fight to me. This is one that I thought I've got no interest in, and then I started watching, and then ultimately I looked at the betting line and I went, oh, that's really interesting to me. So you've got Aleksei, who's coming off the UFC Dana White show, Tuesday Night Contender series, where he beat a guy. I don't think that guy is against. I don't think both these guys should really been in that spot, if I'm being honest with you. I think Alexei's got in there because Stipe is his boy. And that always helps when you've got a champion that's in the ear of the promoter and whatever, and can get you onto shows like the Dana White Contender Series. And ultimately, he came out there against, I think it was Fabio Clevant, and he'd faced the guy Clevant who was like
losing record was obscene on his history, but it was shocking.
And Aleksei really came out and really put his front foot forward and was dominating and had all the he was just kind of leading the dance in the fight. But he did take some shots in that fight when that Fabio guy through
the second round, wasn't it?
Yeah. So like I said, that first round he was definitely pushing the pace and pushing his opponent back, but his opponent would come forward with some big high kicks, and you could see that the kid had power. And then he ended up eating a shot in that second round and showing what he's got by coming back with a flying knee and pretty much finishing the fight from there. So when I look at him, I think he's very, very raw. Still a hell of a lot to come out of this guy. I looked into him more in his background. He doesn't really come from an MMA kind of background, like a wrestling background or jiu-jitsu. He comes from a lacrosse and skateboarding background. If you go onto YouTube and put this kid's name in, you will see skateboard he is making like skateboard tutorials and stuff. So that was interesting to me. But what you can see when you watch some of his fights, he's very athletic, very powerful, very explosive. And that is what's kind of happened. Justin Ledet, obviously, his last loss was Johnny Walker, who, when you kind of look at that, very explosive, very powerful, very athletic. So at any point, Justin Ledet could probably be taken out. But when I sat back and watched, I'm like, Justin Ledet shouldn't be an underdog to this kid coming into the UFC. And again, I bet Justin Ledet. I'm picking Justin Ledet in this fight. When I look at the fight of Ledet, I mean, he's won a few fights. I think when you look at his last two fights, who he's lost to, I mean, Rakic and Walker are two of the kind of new breed guys coming into the 205 division, very explosive and can fight you very, very well. That's what happened. If they guys fought Kamer here, he beats those like this kid as well. So it's not being kind of taken out by those two guys. When you look at Ledet's game, he's a boxer, and he fights off the jab well. So, and when he's got a reach advantage like he has, I think he's another 6-7 inch reach advantage. I think he can keep this kid back. This kid, I think, is going to be. I think he's going to try and push, but like I said, I think the jab's going to be a massive, massive thing here. When you look at Ledet's opponent, who he's beaten in the UFC, Chase Sherman, Zhu Nyanwu, they're slower guys. This guy's a lot quicker, so you have to be careful with that. But I think he can keep him back. So I'm interested to see what Alexei's kind of game plan is going to be. Is he going to come out here and strike, which I think it will be. I think as regarding boxing technique, I think that Ledet's better, and he can just keep him at distance. I think he can jab him up for the entire fight. But at any point, you can maybe see Aleksei catching him with something here and potentially hurting him and knocking him out. So that's always a risk. I know the risk we're betting like Justin Ledet against an explosive, hard-hitting, athletic dude. But I've got Justin Ledet to win this one via decision. I think that the jab's just going to keep him back, and he's going to win rounds through that. So I've got Justin Ledet to come back in here and win his UFC return.
Yeah, Ledet's 4 inches taller, like a 5-inch reach advantage as well.
Yeah, I think
so.
When I look at Aleksei, I think he's a little bit of a blown up middleweight. I don't think he fits into 205. Where Ledet, obviously coming down from heavyweight, I think
it has to. Yeah. Ledet's jab is quick. He has got a beautiful boxing jab. Like he's got good boxing hands. It's what he does. He's very good at. He's got really good boxing, and he rolls with punches. He does roll with punches well when people throw the punch. Like look at heavyweight fights that he was having. He was people were throwing punches and he was just rolling with the punches well and was able to kind of disperse the kind of power getting hit him, and he wasn't getting stopped. But like you said, Will, like Rakic. Like Rakitic, decision win. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not like like Ledet went in there and got smoked by him. He went to a decision, even though he didn't win the fight. He still went 3 rounds with someone, so he's got, and that was his first time at 205 as well. To be fair, and Rakitic put a hell of a pace on him. Johnny Walker is one of them guys, and he's kill or be killed. Walker can crack hard, but he can also get hit and just go to sleep. It's weird. So Johnny Walker's a kind of look at the who's the guy who said it's his last fight soon? Light heavyweight, Khalil Roundtree. There you go. That's another example. You know what I mean? He didn't look like he hit him with everything, but puts people to sleep. It's just what he does. Ledet. It's not an easy entrance to 205. There's guys who have come into that division who had well easier introductions. Do you know what I mean? But I thought Aleksei was he was okay. I've still not seen much about him that makes me go, "Ooh, gosh, he's deadly." I was kind of like he's got okay combinations, but when I watch his striking and I look at Ledet and I went, God, Ledet must be licking his lips at that, because that is a jab city. He can literally just pop off Aleksei's head all day long. And I know like he is athletic kid, but he's not this. I don't put him in nowhere near the same category of athleticism as like say Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker's a bit of a weird athletic freak guy. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't look like he should. Johnny Walker's really monstrously tall, really big guy, but he's got this weird, crazy athletic kind of ability. Like shoots really high with the flying knees. He's done that little video post. Remember, he did that little post of the jumping flying knee. And you're like, what the shit is that? Who can jump that high? You know, so. I think the kid, like you say, he looks just like a bit of a bloated middleweight. I think obviously training with Stipe Miocic is going to give you a hell of a ton of confidence. But Ledet's fought heavyweight, so it's not going to be a shock for Ledet, you know, fighting a guy who's also trained with heavyweights. Ledet's used to heavyweight guys. I think he's used to heavyweight power. I think Ledet's going to feel a lot more comfortable in this fight. I think it's a way better fight for Ledet to get back into the light heavyweight division. And I think obviously Ledet should be an okay guy. And I think Ledet eventually should be like a top 15 guy. He's not elite, but I think there's guys in that weight class he could absolutely light up with his boxing. easily, because they're not that great at the boxing side of things. They got the power because of the weight, but I'm going to go with Justin Ledet as well. I think he'll piece up Aleksei for several rounds with that boxing, and then maybe in the third, I think that jab will take its toll and he can get the stoppage in.
Yeah, like I say, I think Ledet's got a little bit more to offer. I think this kid's in a little bit too quick, if I'm being honest. And like it was weird to me to see Ledet as an underdog against this kid. I think looking at the betting odds now, just kind of briefly looking at it, Justin Ledet is now minus 115. So that's a pick 'em. I think there's going to be money that will come in Aleksei personally, but yeah, interested to see that one. Moving on to your televised prelims now. We start off with a really fun fight with two guys. I think they're very, very similar fighters, but there's like 10 years between them. So you've kind of got the old school with Chaz Skelly, and you've got Grant Dawson, the kind of new breed who's been around for a long time in a lot of fights as well. Chaz Skelly 17-4, and you've got Grant Dawson at 13-1 here. A really fun fight when you look at it. How do you see it going?
Yeah, Grant Dawson, he's young, but he's old in the fight. He's had quite a lot of fights outside of the UFC, and 'cause I remember interviewing him a while back for Titan FC, so it goes back a while. But Chaz Skelly getting that win against Griffin, I did not see that coming. That decision winning against Jordan Griffin, it was scrambles all the way. It was reversals on the ground. One thing about Chaz Skelly is he's good when he's on top, but when he's on bottom, it starts to get a little bit sketchy. I'm a bit dubious when he's on the bottom. One thing, and the takedown defense from Chaz Skelly isn't the greatest. He is susceptible to get taken down. And Chaz Skelly's good when he's on top. His striking is, well, gosh, it's not going to get any better anytime soon for Chaz Skelly. But he uses it just because he likes to get on top of the ground. But then Grant Dawson's aggressive. Now, for Grant Dawson, he's got slight advantage. He's got James Krause. He's got Gloria May, who can evolve his striking to get him more competent at striking, so that he can at least hold his own to get in closer, potentially, to control the fight a bit more, to get the grappling exchanges in. Look at the Trezano fight. I think in the first round, Grant Dawson was chasing for the takedown and couldn't get nowhere for an extended period of time. Was getting hit a couple of times. It's a bit worrying. I think that he needs to work on aspects of his game in that way. But for me, I'm thinking Grant Dawson should, in theory, I've got to be honest, I think he should be stopping Chaz Skelly here. I think Grant Dawson's got very aggressive movement. He's got takedowns in him. He's comes forward, fights for that takedown, whether it be a double, single, transitions good into them. But when he's on top, man, he's a hard guy. Like, he gets on top, he puts in good ground and pound. Obviously, he can go for submission wins, but I think that in this fight, I think Chase is going to have a bit of a rough time. I think he's going to get taken down the first round, and by the second or third, he's going to have a little bit of a swollen face. I think Grant Dawson should potentially get a stoppage here against Chaz Skelly. I like Chaz Skelly for some reason. I think he's kind of weirdly cool in the fight game when he fights. He's got some weird, good finishes, good stops. But man, I've got Grant Dawson here, man. I'm quite heavy on it for Grant Dawson as well.
Yeah, like I said, the two guys that I think resemble each other a lot in their skill set. I think the guys that can push a pace, don't think they're great strikers. I think they absorb a lot of strikes. I do think they can get takedowns. I think they can scramble. I think they're both decent with the jiu-jitsu game. I just like the younger version here. I like Grant Dawson. I like what I'm seeing with him. I was not impressed with his UFC debut against De Rosa. I thought that he looked rough in that fight, but then steadied it, and that's a good win over Mike Trezano. Now he's making a big jump against Chaz Skelly, who's had a lot of injuries, but he's got a lot more experience in the UFC than what Dawson has. Yeah. And when you look at Chaz Skelly, for him being a wrestler, his takedown defense isn't great.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah, where Grant Dawson, I think, pushes a far faster pace here, and I think that pace will eventually break someone like Chaz Skelly. Chaz has had injuries, and I still think that he's recovering from those injuries, from bits and pieces that I've heard, so he's not... it's not that fighters come into fights 100% ready to go and not be injury free, but I just think Chaz is going to get bitten by the pace that Grant Dawson puts on here. So I've got Grant Dawson. I'm actually going to pick him via submission, but it would not surprise me if they're in a scrambling position and Chaz Skelly catches him in a submission, because that's what he's did that before. So Grant Dawson really needs to be careful defensively when he's on the ground, because if he makes one mistake, Chaz Skelly could take the back and take him out, or just get a choke or whatever. But I like the pace that Dawson puts together. I think that he eventually will keep on just going for takedowns. He'll get them, he'll be in top position, and eventually he'll get an opportunity to finish this fight, and I think he'll get it. So I've got Grant Dawson via submission in the middle to the late part of this fight here. Drew Dober against Nasrat Haqparast is up next. Really fun fight here. Another big jump in opposition for Nasrat Haqparast. You've got Drew Dober 29 with 1 no contest in his record, and you've got a 10-2 record from Nasrat Haqparast, who's fighting out of Germany, fighting out of TriStar, King's MMA. He's been doing the rounds the last couple of years, but he seems like he's really fitted in at TriStar. He's found the coach in Firas Zahabi that he needed. And I mean, this is a fun fight because, like I say, this is a jump in class in opposition from what Nasrat has faced. Let's not make no doubt about it. Like, you don't go from Thibault Gouti to Joaquin Silva to Drew Dober. Like, Drew Dober, he is not like a great fighter in any aspect, but he's very hard-headed. He's a good striker. Got a good outpaw, fights out the southpaw stance. This is interesting. It's 2 southpaws here as well, and both guys land a phenomenal kind of good amount of strikes per minute as well. Good combination strikers. I think the speed is on the younger fight here in Haqparast. I think he's a better counter striker, but don't write off Drew Dober in this fight, because I think that I just think he's a tough guy to face, and he's fought better caliber opposition in your Dariush's and so on. The people that Nasrat has never really fought anybody of that level, but he fought like Diakese. That was a great game plan against Diakese. Completely shut him down. And like the counter knockout of Joaquin Silva was beautiful. I was looking at this thinking, right, is Drew Dober, does he have a chance to win this fight? I do, but I like what I see from Haqparast, and I like what I see. I like the camp that he's at. I think TriStar Firas is so analytical with his kind of approach to fights. I think it's really going to help a young kid in Nasrat Haqparast here. I think he's been doing stuff with GSP. If you've got that guy in your corner, you're going to learn a thing or two. Don't write off Drew Dober, but I've got Nasrat Haqparast here. I think this is going to be a fight initially. I think it's going to be a little bit close early on, but I think that Nasrat, as the fight goes on, will start to put it together a little bit more and he'll win a decision. So I've got Nasrat Haqparast for the W there.
I'm going Drew Dober. Yeah. Man, it's not even like an uber confident pick, but like you say, he's a kickboxer by trade. He's got good striking. Haqparast is good striker. Obviously working with Rafael Cordero, he has tightened up his striking a bit more. I think he obviously, weirdly enough, trained with Beneil Dariush, obviously down at King's MMA. So Beneil might give him a bit of a heads up on some of the things about Drew Dober, but obviously the problem Haqparast has, he hasn't got the jiu-jitsu level that Beneil Dariush has. So as much as you might think, I'll take him down and submit him, he's not quite to that obscenely good level of grappling that he is. But Drew Dober is, man, like I said, he's got a head like a coconut. Look at that Frank Kamucha fight. Whoo! That fight was bloody entertaining. Good fight. 2 dudes went out. He went up to 170, Drew Dober, for that fight. And when you meet Drew Dober, man, that dude is thick set, and he will. Remember when he was at Liverpool?
It was, yeah.
Yeah. I met him, and I was like, honestly, man, because he doesn't look the way, when you see him in the cage, he doesn't look like he does in, like, general person, because he's a few more pounds on him, obviously. He's just walking weight. So his face fills out, and I just stopped for a minute. I was like, hang on a minute, you Drew Dober? He's like, yeah, man. I was like, holy shit. I said, dude's thick set. But, like, he's got wins. Scott Holtzman. The win against Scott Holtzman, and for me, I kind of like see that as a good win, in a sense of Scott Holtzman can get you to the ground if he wants to. That dude is a strong, solid fighter, and Drew Dober looked good in that fight. And obviously, it wasn't like last year, so to speak, but it's something in his CV when you look back at it. Josh Berkman fight was a good one. You tend to see the fights where he gets the grapple side of things kind of get on him. So if you're Firas Zahabi, I'd say, look, try and engage the striking to initiate the takedown. If you're Nasrat, now I don't know how good, but Drew's not too bad at getting back up. The stoppage against Marco Polo Reyes was beautiful. But I'm going to go with Drew. I think that obviously both being southpaw might play a factor in it. Might throw Naz a bit off a little bit. Because obviously, majority of the time, you're sparring and training against orthodox fighters. But I like Drew Dober's kicks. I like the way he throws his combinations together. So I'm going to go with the kind of more experienced dude in Drew Dober. I think he might just catch out Haqparast and get the decision win here.
Yeah. Moving on, this is a banger. This is a really good, well-matched fight. You've got Andre Fili coming in here with a 19-6 record against Super Sodiq Yusuff, fighting out of Nigeria with a 9-1 record. Two really... I cannot believe these guys they're not ranked already. That's a little bit odd. I thought they were both ranked guys, or close to being ranked guys, especially Sodiq Yusuff.
They must be close.
They must be very close.
They can't be that far off.
Yeah, they can't be far off at all. But this is a really well-matched fight that you can see that the progression they're doing with Sodiq Yusuff, who had a great end to 2018, had a great 2019, obviously going undefeated, and is getting another step up in competition here against Andre Fili. When he turns up, Andre Fili is a bad matchup for a lot of guys. When he's really going for it and really sharp, he's a tough guy who can knock you out or can hurt you in a lot of aspects of the fight game. And I mean, he's won 4 of his last 5, and the names that he's beat, I mean, Miles Jury, decent, Shimon Moraes, that's a common opponent between both these guys here.
Dennis Bermudez.
Autumn,
the legend Lobov.
Lost a very close split to Michael Johnson where he felt a little bit aggrieved by there. So when he turns up and he looks like he's putting it all together, I mean, he came into UFC years ago. That would have been, when did he come in? 2013, so the kid's been around for 6.5 years in the UFC. He's finally starting to put it all together. His striking's meshing with his grappling, and he's a kind of well-versed fighter. He can come at you with different game plans. We've seen that in the Moraes fight where he decided he wanted to strike with Moraes, and he was the sharper striker in that fight. And Moraes is a dangerous striker he'd be in front of, but he caught him with a beautiful head kick, knocked him out with punches afterwards.
And that was sick, that head
kick.
It
was a sick knockout. And when you look at the Sodiq against Shimon fight, close fight, not a hell of a lot in it, but ultimately the power kind of told for Sodiq Yusuff in that fight where the knockdown in the 3rd round was enough. I still think he was going to win the fight regardless, but that just put the exclamation mark on that win there. And then he comes out against Gabriel Benitez, dangerous guy, heavy leg kicks, absorbed a lot of punches in that 1st round. He also gave a fair whack of them back as well, but took some damage. I think he got a cut over one of the eyes. But you can see when this guy plants his feet and times it right, and if it lands, you're done for. And that's what happened with Gabriel Benitez. He rolled to his back. The referee showed him mercy, didn't let him take any more damage. And that's what you have to be careful with. I'm just interested to see what the game plan of Fili is going to be, because he is the longer fighter, or the bigger fighter. So he might try and fight at distance a little bit and try and not engage in the firefight with Sodiq Yusuff. Yeah. If you do that, you're at risk of getting hit by big shots. I don't know whether he's going to try and take Yusuff down. Yusuff, to me, has shown that he's got really good takedown defense. He's like one of those guys who's really kind of thick set and just hard to get down, like 5'9". So just a tough guy to get down. Close fight. Initially, I was like, I'm going to stay away from even looking at betting at this fight. But the lines are tightening up now to where, Sodiq Yusuff's minus 125 plus 105 for Andre Fili.
That sounds about tight. I'm happy with that.
I still think it'll come down a little bit. I think some money will come in Andre Fili. Ultimately, I think I've got Sodiq Yusuff, though. I think that he's got that dangerous power that if you try and mess around with this guy for a little bit too long, he'll catch you with one shot. And that's really all it takes to this guy to really turn the tide of a fight. And once he's got you hurt, he's a tough guy to really keep off you. I love watching the Mike Davis fight with Sodiq Yusuff. That was a great fight, by the way. Two really good fighters. Fili's got more experience, especially in the UFC, but I'm going to go Sodiq Yusuff. I think he's got a higher ceiling than what Andre Fili has. So I've got Sodiq Yusuff, actually probably by knockout at some part of this fight. So I've got Super Sodiq for the win.
It's hard. It's a hard pick, if you're honest, because you got to think, like say, well, Fili's kind of coming into form. The performance against Shane Maurice blew the socks off me. I think it blew the socks off everyone, really. But he is that kind of guy where he can put the performances on where you think, oh, this guy's actually a lot better than he usually can perform. Like the Miles Jury fight, got the decision win. Solid fight, nothing. But it's almost like there's a little bit more in Andre Fili that you just don't get out of sometimes, and you think, come on, man, there's more in that tank there. Whether Uriah Faber has had that conversation with him over the past year or two to find it and get out of him to bring the performances that he's been bringing, who knows? Because if he'd won that fight, against Johnson or got the nod, that would have been 5 in a row, which in the featherweight division is a hell of a bloody record to have. Albeit he's now two in a row. Sodiq, yeah, I've got some still. I've got a couple, he's got a lot more potential in to grow. I've got a couple of worries still, like you say. Well, the Gabriel Benitez fight, he got hit a bit too much for my liking. He got a little bit wobbled. I wasn't overly keen on that. I was not overly keen. I thought, dude, you need to move that head a bit more, because I feel like you're sometimes loading up to wait to throw that power shot. Like he's trying to time that counter to hurt you. But the problem is, for him to do that, he has to get hurt almost. He almost has to accept that he has to get hit. And I'm like, no, you don't have to. You can bait someone into a shot, move the head off the centre of line and then come back with your strike. But, that's time, that's his training, his camp. And you think to yourself, Fili's similar to Benitez in physique, like kind of tall, long, rangy guy for that weight class. Benitez, tall, long, rangy guy for the weight class. So I think that's actually suits Yusuff a bit better, really, because I think it'll be something he's kind of used to. And I am tentative on both, because I think Fili turns on. I think Yusuff can get lit up all day in this fight by Fili, but I go for Yusuff only because he's got that goddamn power when he pops out that straight and you see it hit people and you think, yeah, that just changed their world, that has. And he's got that power in him, man. He's like Derek Lewis, man. He just hits that power, or he's just like those guys that can have that one punch freaky power. It's like Sam Alvey with his left hook. Just like, what is that? Like, Sam Alvey doesn't look like he's going to do it, but Sam Alvey's messed up loads of people with those little pop shots. So yeah, I'm going with Sodiq here. I think that he can walk away with a stoppage, but ultimately I'm going to go for decision win for Yusuff, because one thing that I did like you said, before you said about one of his fights, was he's got that power for 3 rounds. A lot of guys have it for 1. Yeah, I understand, guys do tire out, but he's got a good power in his hands in that 3rd round, and that's something you can't rely on a guy to stay on point for full 15 minutes sometimes. Some guys, switch off for that brief moment, and that's when he strikes. So I've got Yusuff as well.
Moving on to the headline fight of the prelims here, you've got the Happy Warrior Roxanne Modafferi with a 23-15 record, a veteran, a long-time veteran of the sport, against the future, literally that's her nickname, and Maycee Barber, undefeated 7-0 record, who has looked fantastic in her short career there. So, John, on you go.
I've got to admit, I've been a bit... Maycee caught me off guard. I didn't quite expect her to do as well as she has done like last year. I thought she was going to fall short at some point. She's a young kid, but she's almost got that zero fear and just goes at it and just goes for it and that girl, Gillian Robert fight, that girl was just hit, froze leather. Man, I've got to be honest with you. This is a step in as well. She's a replacement, isn't it, Maycee Barber? She replaced someone other than Roxanne, didn't she?
I think so. Yeah,
so at the same time you sit there and you think, cool, nice, that's nice that someone stepped in to replace you, but at the same time it's like, man, I do not want that replacement fight. I would not want her to step in for someone, because Maycee Barber and Roxanne Modafferi, I don't know what the odds are, I've not looked at the odds, but I'm going to guess Maycee's really a fucking heavy favourite, because Roxanne Modafferi has got striking, which isn't really that good. She's tightened up a little bit with Syndicate and May, and the coach who's gone out with Joanne Calderwood, whose name Woodson or something like that his name is. I can't remember.
Yeah, John Wood.
There you go, John Wood. Sorry, yeah. Should remember his first name. To be fair, same as me. He probably has Wood around, but JoJo. But yeah, he's tidying up his striking, but they're simply saying to Roxanne, probably, look, you're not going to be the next crazy, uber, awesome striker. Let's just tidy it up a little bit so that you can engage in the grappling, because that's where your bread and butter is. But the thing is, Maycee Barber, when she gets on top, has got horrible ground and pound. I'm going Maycee Barber. I think she's going to absolutely terrorise Roxanne. I think she's just going to come forward to Roxanne, hit her like a freight train. Roxanne's just not going to enjoy it. And you're going to see the lovely Roxanne Modafferi get stopped by Maycee, first, second round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Roxanne's got to get grapple here. It's got to take her down.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what she's got to do. And to me, when you look at Maycee showed me that she's like not easy to get down. So, and she's got that power. She's got that staying power that if you really land something, she shuts girls off, and like they can't throw anything back. And if they do, they're struggling. They're eating 2 or 3 shots at a time to try and get one back, and just eating big shots. So Modafferi's got to come out here, literally just go for it straight away, get her down, and hopefully she can be heavy on top. I think Barber's just a little bit too thick set. It's going to stop it, and then once these guys like start swinging, I think it'll take one shot. It'll just change the fight. Maycee Barber will come out here and just ultimately get a win and move herself up. I think it's smart matchmaking by the UFC, getting another name, girl with a lot of experience, and like I said, I was saying to you before this card, like, this prelim set's got a lot of guys in a couple of years' time that could be fighting for belts or be high-ranked guys, and maybe this card will do a lot for them with the exposure that Conor McGregor shines on a card. So I've got Maycee Barber. I think she knocks her out in the first round. I think once she lands that kill shot, she'll switch off the lights of Roxanne Modafferi, and that will be that there. So yes, that is through the prelims now. We are now on to the main card. And the main card is deciding not to work. There we go. We're moving on now. And this is a fight I'm looking forward to.
Is it?
This is one. I'm a Pettis fanboy. Everybody knows it. Anthony Showtime Pettis, 22-9 record. Former WC champion, former UFC lightweight champion, the Wheaties guy who was on the Wheaties cereal box back in the day. And he's facing off against the surgeon, Diego Ferreira, 16-2, fighting out of Brazil, but fighting out of Texas, that Fortis MMA camp. This is the step up here from beating Maycee Tysonov, who he started off really slow in that fight. Wasn't a great start. He took a lot of kind of leg kicks, hit a few shots, but worked his way into the fight. And once he started getting on top, he started really beating Tysonov up very, very badly. And he is on a run at the minute where he is just taking out guys that haven't really been taken out before. Kabilov was a guy that wasn't really getting beat all too often. He came in there, really beat him up well. And he's on a 5-fight win streak. Maycee, Jared Gordon, Kyle Nelson, Khabilov and Tysonov, and now he's got the former champion here in Pettis. And before this fight, before I really started looking into it, I was like, I'm all over Anthony Pettis here. I think this is a good fight.
No way, were you?
Yeah, I thought this was a good fight for him because people still write off Pettis quite a bit, but he has taken a hell of a lot of damage. Like he breaks quite easily, and Carlos Diego has a style which pressures you, and once he's on top, he's a hard guy to try and change the momentum of. I mean, he's fought good guys. He fought Pori. I think that was a bit quick in his UFC tenure. And ultimately he got knocked out there. Not saying that Pettis can't win this fight, but the way I kind of see it going is that the pressure ultimately will kind of take precedence in this fight, and he'll come on late in the second, in the third round. There was an interesting story, I don't know if you've seen that earlier on, about he's going to be suing USADA, Anthony Pettis. So that's interesting. Go and check that out after this one here.
Jessica Penne's probably going to try and do something like that too.
For the Nate Diaz fight, he said that he got his hand cut by one of the USADA things or something, I don't know. But when you break down both the fighters here, you've got Pettis, who comes from that Taekwondo background. Obviously, Duke Rufus is his main guy, has been for many years. Okay with his hands. I don't ever think he's super dangerous. You've seen in the Kaiser fight, when he hits you laser point straight down the middle, he can hurt you and then kind of jump on into submissions or whatever. Obviously, the Wonder Boy fight where he came out there with a kind of stepping hook that knocked Wonder Boy out. But I think his main weapons is his kicks, and I think that's something he can utilise here by low kicks and body kicks. Keep Carlos Diego back. If he can keep him back, then he can find his distance. He can win the fight through that. And I don't think he's a fish out of water if this fight goes to the ground, because we've seen that he's super, super dangerous with his jiu-jitsu. He's submitted guys, Charles Oliveira, Benson, Michael Chiesa, guys who are really, really good on the ground. He submits them as well. Diego Ferreira is really, really good, and he's very good once he gets into that top position. If he gets him there, I think he'll find a submission, or he'll grind and pound him out. My pick's going to be Carlos Diego Ferreira. I think that initially he might start a little slow, but I think once he comes into 2 and 3, I think he wins the fight via decision. Ultimately, could break Anthony Pettis, but when you look at the guys Pettis is kind of breaking to, or breaking, he's still surviving majority.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, Nate Diaz, who is not one of the top tier fighters, but very, very difficult to face with his skill set. Tony Ferguson, who's one of the best in the lightweight division. I want to pick Anthony Pettis, I really do, but I'm not going. I'm going to pick Carlos Diego Ferreira via decision.
You know, I'm picking Ferreira as well, man. That kid's coming into his own at the moment, and do you know what it is? One of the factors that swung it for me is Carlos's forward pressure. He's got great forward pressure, and he has such a good output of strikes with his hands. He's got good hands, man. He's got nice power, nice strikes, and he keeps up for 3 rounds.
Yeah.
He does not. That Mirabek Tyson fight, I'm not being funny, when me and Will saw that fight, ladies and gentlemen, announced, we went, ooh, Tyson going to win. We were sitting there, I was sat there for 3 rounds going, Tyson going to kill him, Tyson going to kill him. I'm going to get a highlight reel, and it never happened. Tyson just got shut down. Like, I could not get my head around it. Ferreira just absolutely owned him. I was like, what? And what does Tyson have that's dangerous? Kicks. The dude's got absolute devastating kicks. Pettis is saying got kicks, but the thing is, Ferreira's smart, just keeps you on that back foot, pushes that pressure on you. Your kicks aren't that explosive. They're not as effective when you're on the back foot. And we've seen with Pettis, for example, RDA. It's the best prime example you can give. You put that pressure on Pettis, you get him there, you tighten it up. It's horrible. Pettis against the cage is... I've got to be honest with you, it's like kryptonite for Pettis. When he's pinned against the cage by someone, he just looks stuck. He looks like he just can't get out there. You see guys all the time steal time off them when they get him against the cage. Man, I'm going for Ferreira because I think he can hit Pettis for the full 3 rounds. I think he's got good hands, can keep it going. I'd be surprised if there's any grappling exchanges on the ground, because I think Ferreira should just be smart enough to just keep that forward heavy pressure on Pettis to kind of keep it going and just tire him out. And yeah, I'm going Ferreira all day on that one for 3 rounds.
Moving on, we have Cláudia Gadelha, 16-4 record against Aleksei Grasso with 11-2 record. Really interesting style kind of match up here. Who do you have in this one here, fighting at 115?
Man, it's a tough one to call, if I'm honest with you, because Cláudia Gadelha's been down training with Mark Henry for 10 months.
Yep.
She said she lost the kind of spirit, let's say, or she lost the passion, whatever you want to say. And that was on that the UFC embedded.
Yeah.
You know, I got a chance to watch that, so and I didn't expect to hear that from her, to be honest with you. But it was nice to see it, because you think maybe you might hear it in interviews. So I when I saw that, I kind of went, okay, that's cool. She's honest, she's open, and it means that she's had that talk, you know, because she did look out of sorts in the past few fights. Like Cláudia, you know, you looked at Cláudia a while back and you went, that girl is an absolute nightmare. She's going to be that number 2 for ages because JJ's there. She's like the June Dos Santos of the heavyweight division, could beat the crap out of everyone but just can't get that number 1 title and number 1 spot. And I think it was the same again. And then she lost that to Jessica Andrade, which, let's be honest, I think no one's going to look forward to that girl holding you. Like, god damn it, that's a horrible fight. She got the win against Carla Esparza. Meh. It was a sketchy win. Nina Ansaroff, it was just, she looked out of it, she didn't look the same, and then she got the win against Randa Marcos, but I think Randa Marcos is just like a kind of a gimme fight. I think if she lost to Randa Marcos, there would have been bigger question marks over her, even by the UFC. I think Aleksei Grasso is a very good fighter in her own right. I think she's a good fighter all round, but I'm kind of excited by Cláudia Gadelha, because I think that Cláudia's kind of game plan used to be like, not the best strike. Clinch up, get you down, kind of game plan. But with Mark Henry's a really good striking coach. She's been there for an extended period of time. She's obviously worked with your 135ers in Marlon Moraes. She would have been with like Sir Frankie Edgar, or all those kind of folks. So she would have been with like high-end guys, and she would have just been feeding off their strike. I think Cláudia might come with a better striking kind of arsenal with her. Now, I'm not saying she's going to be using that for 3 rounds, but I think she'll offer a bit better striking. Potentially, I think she should. I think it'll kind of cause Aleksei to have to rejig and rethink a bit, and that can also open up opportunities for Cláudia to get the fight to the ground. I'm kind of stuck on this because I'm thinking Cláudia cannot fight like the way she has done for the past 4 or 5 fights. She just can't. She's been absolutely abysmal. Aleksei Grasso is, I know she lost to Haqparast, but Haqparast she's one of them ones. If you can't stop Carla's takedowns, it's very hard to beat Haqparast, and that's just her bread and butter. But obviously lost to Tatiana Suarez again, absolute monster, and she gets everyone down. And to be honest with you, I think that's why they've done a Rose Namajunas rematch with Jessica Andrade, because Suarez is still out injured. I think if Suarez wasn't injured, I reckon they might have just thrown Suarez in for that title fight. Karolina Kowalkiewicz wasn't the best performance again. Karolina Kowalkiewicz is one of those other ones in that division that performed well, and I think Aleksei looked a little bit better. But I'm going to go with Cláudia Gadelha. I think she can get the takedowns against Aleksei Grasso. I think she can initiate the striking to get close to the grapple, to get against the cage, get her down. Not saying she's going to get a submission, but I'm going to go with Cláudia Gadelha. I think she can get the decision win, because I think she can just get the takedowns and keep that ground time. Top time is what I mean. Top position time.
Yeah, I see this being really, really close again. I think it's a very, very close fight. You've got your predominantly, I think, a striker v grappler. I think this is what the fight has to be. I think obviously Cláudia really needs to be good on the feet to try and make Grasso work, because if Grasso establishes her range in this fight, I think she could easily beat up Cláudia Gadelha. So I think that Cláudia has to come out first round, make sure that close, she has to get takedowns, and she has to kind of make it count by being heavy on top and looking for submissions. If this fight stays standing for 15 minutes, I think Grasso's I think she can piece her up. I think that Cláudia will start to fail by her conditioning, her cardio, and I think that she reminds, I know Aldana and Grasso are very, very kind of similar, not similar, but they've come from the same camp, and both really good boxers, but they both kind of bad takedown defense. Aldana's got better, but Grasso, when the big moments are there, she's a little bit too, she's like stuck in the mud to kind of say there, and she can get taken down. That's how Esparza won that fight. She had that fight in her hands if that stayed standing, and couldn't stop the takedown. Cláudia's took a lot of damage. Obviously, that kind of coming out and saying she lost the motivation for the sport is a little bit discouraging. Hopefully she's found it. I see this being super close. I've got Cláudia Gadelha via split decision. I think it's another very, very close fight. I've not got a real confidence in the pick, but I'm going to pick Cláudia Gadelha to win via split decision, actually, in that one there. Moving on, we're in the heavyweights. We've got the boa constrictor, Aleksei Oleinik, 57-12.
He looks 57, but it's actually 57 fights, you mean, Will?
Yeah, 57 fights. 57 wins, sorry. 12 losses and 1 draw against the crochet boss, Maurice Greene, 8-4. I think we know how this matchup kind of goes. It's again, Oleinik really only wants one thing. He wants to get his hands on you in any way, in any position. If he can clasp his hands, or get an arm around the neck, or do whatever. I don't even know. He catches people in weird positions. He can submit someone like Maurice Greene. Maurice Greene here, I think he's definitely got the striking advantage. He's got the reach advantage. He's a better kick. He's just a far better striker. Oleinik with his striking is just very, very, it's weird. He reaches with his shots. He's wide open to getting countered, but he's kind of got that kind of old man power that if he hits you, he can stumble you a little bit. So you have to kind of mind your P's and Q's there. I'm not a fan of Maurice Greene. I don't think he's that great. I don't think he's all that good. I think he was showing against Pavlovich that he can be taken out heavyweight division, of course. But I'm going to pick Aleksei Oleinik. I am. I'm going to go for another. I'm going to go for a first round submission where he catches him in something crazy, because we're due something like that from Aleksei Oleinik, where he just surprises people. He comes out of nowhere and catches you in a submission. And I've just got the feeling that this could happen in this fight. Now, it could also be that he gets sparked inside 2 minutes by Maurice Greene, because he is the far better striker and he counters better, and he's got more weapons on the feet. But I've just got this feeling that Oleinik's going to come out here and catch in a submission, so I'm going to go a first round submission for Aleksei Oleinik.
Oleinik's got a couple of stops in his last few fights, which is a bit of a potential concern when you're going up against a guy, Maurice Greene, striker. If you're Maurice, obviously you've got to be thinking that front kicks, teep kicks, keep the straight shots. But Maurice Greene in the MMA world isn't as clean as he was in the kickboxing side of things in his kickboxing debut, in his kickboxing days. And obviously it's the 4-ounce gloves, there's the potential of threat takedowns, etc. And I think Oleinik's got to take advantage of that. He's got to be threatening with the takedowns kind of early on to stop Greene opening with the jabs and the straights, to kind of put Greene off looking for that range. You've got to look at Maurice Greene, what's he got to offer with the takedown defense and the grappling on the ground. Not a lot, if I'm honest with you. He kind of just almost solely relies on being 6'7", kind of relies on being that big long guy to get him through the MMA fights. Oleinik, gosh, he's fought any shape and every size you can imagine, in heavyweight. So Maurice is not a new kind of body that he's not seen before. He'll have a game plan, he'll have a kind of routine, and also being at ATT, he'll have some great guys around him who will advise him on what to do and where to go with this fight and how to take the fight to the ground and how to engage in that grappling aspect. Like you said, he has got power. The Alistair Overeem fight, he hit Alistair a couple times, and Alistair was a little bit and because he's such a big lump, he throws heavy, he kind of throws his clumpy shots to open up the guys off and get the clinch. I'm going to go Oleinik with the submission win as well, because I just think even though Maurice has got the better striking side of things, Oleinik's got enough in the striking to kind of close the distance and cause you to at least put your hands up to defend, to open the grappling exchanges. But I think Maurice Greene with the grappling and submission defense, he's got no chance. It's just, he's going to get, it's a world apart, them two.
Okay, moving on. Co-main event, surprising co-main event if you ask me. You've got the preacher's daughter, Holly Holm, the former UFC champion, facing off here with a 12-5 record, facing off against an old adversary in Raquel Rocky Pennington, who comes in here with a 10 wins, 8 losses. This is a rematch of 5 years ago, I believe it was, at UFC 184. It was Holly's UFC debut, and you can see there was a lot of nerves in that fight. Very kind of close fight there. How do you see this one going?
It's exactly what you said there. Holly had those nerves early days in UFC. I think she's way better than she was then, and I think Raquel Pennington isn't way better than then. I think Raquel Pennington in this fight, I don't think she'd get anywhere as close as she did in the original fight. I thought Raquel Pennington did really well originally, making it a dirty fight, dirty boxing, clinching work, getting close. I think Holly Holm's got. Gosh, I think Holly Holm's like 38 now as well, which is insane. I think Holly Holm would. I think she's got obviously she's got the footwork, but I think she's got way better clinch work than she used to have, and I think she'll be able to kind of negate the kind of strategy that Raquel Pennington wants to use on Holly Holm specifically. Holly Holm, she's kind of in a weird place because she's had title fights, she's won the title, she's just up around there, but you think to yourself, what's she looking for? What's she aiming for in her career? Raquel Pennington, obviously a lot younger. She's got aspirations to get back up to the belt again. But, I think Holly Holm, Aldana, split decision. She needed that win. I think Raquel Pennington are actually a more suitable fight for Holly Holm. If I'm honest, I think Holly Holm should be able to outstrike Raquel Pennington in this fight, keep the footwork, keep the distance apart. I thought, she only really lost to Amanda Nunes. Let's be honest, that Jermaine Durandamy fight was a bit bullshit. But I'm going to go with I'm going to go. Yeah, I think Raquel Pennington. I haven't seen too much of her that's made me say she's getting better. I just think she's one of those girls in that weight class who's just too awkward. I think Raquel Pennington's just too awkward as a fighter, and I think that's why girls lose to her. I think she makes it fight dirty, and I think Holly's too smart. I think obviously she lost to Cyborg, Amanda Nunes twice. I'm not being funny. If you fight Amanda Nunes, it's going to happen, but you're not going to see Raquel Pennington throw stuff like Amanda Nunes does. You're not going to see Raquel Pennington throw stuff like Cyborg does. I've got to sneeze here, folks. Apologies. Oh, gosh, that was building up. That was doing my nutting. I think Holly Holm can actually probably stop Raquel Pennington. She's open for strikes to get hit with, like your Betch Carreras and stuff like that. So I'm going to go with Holly Holm on this one. I think she should win this fight comfortably. To be honest with you, it's not a rematch I'm overly arsed about, but I think it's the UFC just sitting there thinking we've got to make something. We've got to make a fight.
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird fight at her stage of her career, like Holly Holm, because what do you really get by beating Raquel Pennington again? So it's like you beat her once, you have to do it a bit more spectacularly this time. Holly, we know what she's going to do. She's going to kind of stay on the outside, pick her shot. She's obviously comes from that boxing background. The first fight was relatively close, but I always thought Holly was definitely in the ascendancy in that fight. And the nerves, I thought, were definitely a big thing in that one, where it really kind of took her back a bit. Now she's in the UFC. She won the belt. She's been in big spots. She nearly defended her title against Miesha Tate before getting caught. And she's had big fights since then, obviously, your Cyborgs and your Durandames and so on and so on. This was a fight that was supposed to happen in October, I think, in Australia. So Raquel Pennington's been waiting for a fight since, and they've managed to get it rebooked in January. So she's been ready for this fight. She's been getting ready for a while now. Pennington, I don't know. I just think that Holly Holm's going to be always just a little bit ahead in landing strikes and not taking strikes. Could Pennington maybe take her down? Possibly. But Holm's got fairly good takedown defence. Like I say, it's not a fight I'm overly invested in. I think I've got Holly Holm. I think she just wins a couple of rounds more clear through her strike and fighting at distance, using her boxing, pivoting off to the sides and just kind of patching her up from a distance. So I'll pick Holly Holm to win via a unanimous decision in that one there. So now we're on to the main event of UFC 246, with a former two-time champion makes his return after a 16-month hiatus as he faces off Conor McGregor, as he faces off against the Cowboy, the literal legend, Donald Cowboy Cerrone. McGregor with a 21-4 record, obviously a former featherweight champion, a former lightweight champion, and you've got Cowboy with 36-13, one no contest. The guy would literally fight every week if he possibly could. And this is the fight that's really been in the making for the last 4 years, I want to say, because they had the back and forwards when McGregor just came off the Mendes win, was about to challenge Aldo. You had Dos Anjos, who was about to face Cerrone, who was about to take on Dos Anjos for the lightweight strap. I think there was only a couple of weeks between those fights, and there was back and forth between it, and it laid the groundwork for this fight to take place. You've obviously got the boxing style of Conor McGregor against the kind of kickboxing style of Donald Cerrone, but Cerrone has got a really underrated ground game, and he has really always kind of had that underrated ground game. Very dangerous if it gets down there as well. Where you've got McGregor, who I think's got fairly decent takedown defense. I think he showed that. You can get him down, but he's a hard guy to really keep there at points. But once he starts to fatigue and tire, that's when you can, if you get him down there, you can really go after him. So you're looking at both guys, obviously. You've got the McGregor, who is the one quitter hitter that if he hits you with one hitter quitter, I should say, if he hits you with that left hand and he hits you clean with it, it could be good night, Ivan. He doesn't even really need to even hit you with it the one time. If it accumulates in that first 7 to 10 minutes, those strikes accumulate. He can give you a lot of damage, but eventually it usually leads to a knockout. We've seen him one punch knockout Poirier, Aldo, so on. And we've seen that Cowboy, he is getting older. He's in his mid-30s now. He's always been a little bit susceptible to the body, and his durability to me has started to wane a little bit. You can see that in kind of previous fights. But when he turns up, and he does do that on occasion, he did it this time last year against Alexander Hernandez when he moved back down to 155. Don't count Donald Cerrone out. To me, Conor McGregor, I know it's a bit of a cliche thing to say, but he's got 10 minutes in him. We've seen him go 25 minutes against Diaz, where he unloaded a lot of strikes, took a lot of damage, and kind of kept on coming in that fight as well as the fight went on. But that's where he wants to get this fight. He wants to finish it inside the first 8 to 10 minutes of this fight, because if it goes into 3, 4, and 5, then he's in danger, in my opinion, of being letting Cerrone into this fight where he could really get to Conor McGregor, because like I said, I would never trust Conor McGregor if he starts to fatigue, because he does look for a way out. You've seen that, especially if you get his back on the ground, he doesn't fight it. He'll let you have it, and he'll live to fight another day pretty much. But when you've got McGregor who fights very long with that left hand, kind of channels you off. The one thing I like about McGregor with that left hand is that he feints and angles you into taking that shot, and it's hard to get away from it. But he has a lot of tools as well. He obviously fights. He uses good combinations with his right hand, good kicks that he can use. We've not really seen all that much with it in the UFC, if I'm being honest with you. He used it well against Diaz and keeping him back with the leg kicks and so on. But I think he's got obviously a big power advantage, and I think that the durability of Cowboy's kind of throwing me off a little bit. But I'm not writing Cowboy off, because if it goes past the first round, then I think it's game on for Cowboy, and I think he knows that as well. Cowboy's always been a little bit of a slow starter. That concerns me against someone like Conor McGregor. When I look at the matchup, I think it's really good, a good matchup for Conor to come back to, because Cerrone's obviously a name. He's a guy that people really like watching fight, and he's dangerous as well. The guy's got the most head kick knockouts in the UFC. I think he's got the most bonuses, most finishes. So the guy is dangerous. And the big thing with this one here, he's not making Cowboy kill himself to make 155. McGregor's come out and said, I think in an interview with Ariel, he was 160, and he looked good. To be fair, from what I've seen of Conor McGregor, he looks in a good place.
It was just under, it's about 168, I think he said it was. Yeah,
so he's looking in a really good place. I'm looking forward to watching the interview, like I was saying with Ariel, which I'm going to, as soon as I come off here, I'm going to watch that. But to me, it's whether Conor can get it done in the first 10 minutes, and I'm kind of on that kind of side of the equation here, where I've got Conor McGregor. I think Masvidal came out and said it well, that if Cowboy is flat-footed, McGregor is really going to come out here and just punish him really, really badly. And I think that could happen. But I'm interested to see, because John Kavanagh's come out, and I know I shouldn't really listen to John Kavanagh, but it's like, I think Conor can go in here and take him out in the late rounds. And why would you say that? Why would you want that? Whether he's just throwing people off, which, not that he's really throwing people off, but why would you kind of say that? If you can get it one and done out there, he's got this 2020 season that he keeps talking about. After this fight, I personally want to see him fight Justin Gaethje. I think he can beat Justin Gaethje. I'll put it out there. I think McGregor can beat Justin Gaethje. I think that's a good. I still think it's a good fight. If it's a striking fight between them two, I think that McGregor can break him down. But obviously, Gaethje's a machine and can hurt a lot of people as well. But that's the fight I want to see happen. Not going away from this one. Like I said, I think the feints and the angles are going to push Cerrone back. And I think once he's got that back against the cage, I think that Conor's just going to start picking his shots. The one thing that's quite interesting, when you look at, Chad Mendes came out and said that the teep kicks are one of the big things in that fight, but Mendes was coming in there 2 weeks' notice as well. So that's, and he did
a big weight cut to make weight and all sorts.
So he was obviously depleted, his body was depleted, but that's something that McGregor could use against Cerrone, who's took some shots to the stomach before and folded up. The Pettis fight, for example. I'm going to go with the notorious Conor McGregor to come back with a win here, reassert himself in the game, to say the least, and then hopefully we get some big fights for the rest of 2020. But don't count out Cowboy, especially if this goes past the first, because Cowboy is just as game as they come and loves to fight. So I've got Conor McGregor. I'm going to take the first round knockout at the end of the first there for me.
Yeah, you cannot write Donald Cerrone off. That dude, I tell you what, I wrote him off in the Leon Edwards fight, and that bit me on the arse. Because that Donald was coming back in that fight. Donald was in that fight, and he was coming back in that fight. So that really kind of made me go, oh, maybe he's not quite as far done as I thought, potentially. But then you watch the last couple of fights he's had, and you can he's still, skill set wise, he's there. He's got all the skills in the world. That's never gone. But he's like a Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell, has all the skills in the world, but you crack him, that body doesn't react. That body just goes into defense mode and just says, we want to keep you safe. We want to look after the body. We want to save ourselves. We're going to stop now. And man, that Gaethje fight, man, you could see it. Like, I know he questioned a stoppage, but he was clearly not in the right place and questioning a stoppage. Like, what were you questioning? I'm sure when he watched it back, he probably went, yeah, it's the right stoppage, because Gaethje was just punching him in the face while he was on all fours. I was like, what were you expecting was going to happen? What are you going to do? Get a heel hook out of nothing? Like, dude, you're out, Donald. But Donald Cerrone, like you said, that I cannot see the fight going to the ground, because if Conor McGregor, he's got to be honest with himself. You cannot risk going to the ground with Donald, because Donald off his back is an absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Fantastic triangle setups, wicked little attacks. He's deadly. I cannot. I'd be amazed if Conor wanted the fight to go to the ground. I think it stays standing. If I'm Donald Cerrone, man, I'm going to have to get my shit together so I'm not slow in the first round. I cannot afford to be slow if I'm Donald Cerrone, but he gets hit. Donald doesn't mind getting hit. He gets hit. It happens. He gets hit with jabs, straights. But with Donald Cerrone, I question durability as well. Will, that was one of the things that I love about him. He's a fighter, but it's getting to that point now. I think his body's starting to stop him letting him go as far as he wants to mentally go. I think his body stops it. Conor, worry for Conor for me is he's been out that much. He's so inconsistent. It's atrocious, and I can't listen to John Kavanagh when he says it's the best I've ever seen him. I said, it's because you haven't seen him for so long, mate. You forgot what he pissing looked like. I said, what coach have you ever heard comes out and says, oh, he's looking all right, I've seen him do better? No coach ever says their fighter looks worse than they ever did. Every coach for every fight camp says is the best they've ever looked. So why Kavanagh said that is beyond me. I'm like, dude, why would you say something so generic that we know what the coach is going to say? Piss off, will you? But yeah, interesting to see how a fight goes. It's more suited for Conor. Out of all the fights you can make, it's far more suited. I don't want to see Conor Gaethje next. I want to see Conor Poirier next. I want the rematch at 155 with Poirier.
I love that fight.
Yeah. That's the one I'm after, is the Poirier rematch, because I think at 155 Poirier's a motherfucker and it's a way harder fight. But yeah, I'm going to go with McGregor as well. I think that the durability of Cerrone is a bit of a worry, and if you watch the fights that Cerrone's in, I think Conor can just, with the southpaw stance, catch him with that right straight in the first round, throw a couple of the fancy kicks, and then come in with that right straight. It's there to, the left straight, sorry, it's there to land a few times on Donald, because he does use the head movement a little bit, Donald, but sometimes he's susceptible for getting caught. A couple of feints and it's there, and I'm going to go with McGregor with the first couple of rounds. I think he should get the win, because as well with Conor being off so long, he's not been sparring, so he's not been fighting. So again, durability is a big factor. He's a lot fresher, hell of a lot fresher than Donald is.
See, what I like about this fight for McGregor, from what I'm kind of hearing, is that Owen Roddy's taking a lot of from what I've heard, like McGregor's completely doing his own camp pretty much, and he's got people, which is a little weird, but Owen Roddy's the kind of main guy. He's focusing on. He's brought in his old boxing coach from back in the day, and there was that video that came out in the Mac Life of him hitting. And of course, with YouTube, you're going to have people saying, "Oh, he looked great," and "Oh, he looked bad." And like I say, he's just throwing some shots. He's kind of getting. That's why he's just throwing shots at pads. Yeah. So he's not really looking good. He's just in the motion of throwing shots and getting himself ready.
Just repetition.
But, that's what it is. But what I've liked about it, what I've liked so far, and the little things I've seen of Conor, he seems like he's really. I'm hoping he's come in here and he's committed himself to the sport again, because the little bits that I've seen of this interview, he was saying he was drinking fight week with Khabib. I don't care whether he was drinking fight week or not. He probably doesn't beat Khabib even on his... he could beat him on his best day, because he's got that power that can knock him out.
I think on his best day he doesn't beat Khabib, because Khabib's just always better.
Khabib's just one of the best there's ever going to be, I think, in the sport, and in the lightweight division, personally. But I like the fact he's brought in the old boxing coaches, went back to that basics. He's got Owen Roddy, who I think is a really good coach. Was a fun fighter to watch himself, was Owen Roddy. And I'm looking forward to seeing Conor back. As being a Conor fan, he's obviously had all the negativity. He hit the highs, and he's hit the lows, and he's done a lot of really bad shit, which is just really uncalled for. But when he's back in the cage, excitement is there, and he's leading off the first card of the year, where if he wins this fight, we're going to see him again, probably very, very soon, from the way he's talking. But what if he loses this fight? He loses this fight, he's in no man's land now. He's Conor McGregor, so he's gonna have big fights regardless in the UFC. He loses this when he makes the Nate Diaz fight. It happens. It could easily happen. Specifically with Nate coming off a loss as well. So, but if Conor wants to really be back to where he once was, if he ever really gets there again, I don't think he will, but he needs to win this fight regardless. No matter if it's a 5-round decision or knockout, preferably he probably want to stop the fight. But it's just a tough spot for him to be in. Not a tough spot. It's a good spot for him to be in, for the simple fact that he's got an opponent which is kind of playing into him a little bit more. And he can take Cerrone out as well as Cerrone can take him out. It's a fight. Anything can happen. But I'm happy to see McGregor back. I'm happy to see him kind of focused on the task at hand, and then looking ahead to the rest of 2020. I think it's good that he's back in it. Obviously for the UFC, it's good that he's back. So, So, UFC 246 is in the book for us prediction-wise. I'm going to quickly go into my bet, and I've already mentioned the two bets that I've made for this card already. I got Audio Osbourne at plus 100, now minus 125, so he is a favourite with plus 105. My other bet is Justin Ledet was plus 120. He is now minus 115 to Kema being at minus 105. So outside of that, I missed out on a couple of lines here that if I went back maybe a week to 2 weeks ago, I should have made plays on. So it's probably Grant Dawson when he was minus 200. He is now minus 260. I think he was even lower than that. I think I've seen him minus 187. So that would have been, for me, a really good piece, a parlay piece. And you can maybe put him with like a Carlos de Ferreira, who is also minus 255. He was minus 200 at one point. When I see Anthony Pettis plus 215, I'm like, oh, that kind of makes me want to. It is very tempting for someone like me when I see that line. But ultimately, I've picked Diego Ferreira. I'm going to stay back and try and not lose any money in betting Anthony Pettis in spots. Sodiq, if there's another fight I am looking at for potentially betting, it's probably Sodiq Yusuff. If the line gets closer, as the week kind of goes on, it's definitely a fight that's going to interest me betting-wise if the line gets closer. Outside of that, you've got your Maycee Barbers that are kind of big parlay heads that people might put them with on future cards. Conor and Cerrone under 1.5 at plus 105 kind of tempts me a little bit. It's not a bad thing. You've got cover there if Cerrone comes out, maybe submits him in the first 7.5 minutes of that fight. But outside of that, there's not too much that I like, but I am looking forward to the fights being back. So that's my little spiel about the betting this week. We're back. That's our first prediction video of 2020 out the road. Thank you all for the support. Hit that subscribe button. Let's hit our target of 1,300 subs by the end of the year. We're back next week for UFC. I think it's in Raleigh, North Carolina. We've got Curtis Blades against Cigano Junior Dos Santos. That card's taken a few hits with Sanhagen being pulled off. Funny feeling that Arnold Allen's going to get pulled off. But yeah, we're back in the swing of things with predictions there, and I'm looking forward to talking more fights throughout the year. So for myself, I don't know if, John, you've got anything you want to say?
Have a great week and enjoy the fights. That's all I've got to say, bro.
Yeah, until next week, guys. We appreciate the support, and we're back for 2020. All the very, very best. Enjoy the fights for the McGregor circus this weekend. All the very, very best.